All right. So, hello everybody. This has been another busy week. It's been great continuing to push through previs, really confirming what's working on the story and what needs to be tweaked. This is totally normal, um, and I think it's been kind of fun this week also because we are now entering sections of the short where we need to think about getting into more detail on the environment and a set piece. And I think one of them that got brought up a lot this week was Sprite Village. Thinking about how does it complement the story? How are we going to make it entertaining, but also how it's going to fit in the layout? So I think that's one of the things that we've been focusing on a lot this week in story and previs, along with continuing to push the entertainment, push the humor, and keeping the clarity and structure in place.
So I did a couple of fun things. So we don't have Elder Sprite for layout right now, and of course there's other things that have to be tackled. So I just went into the modeled version of him, and I just made kind of an Edgar suit, like from Men in Black, and I just kind of put it on top of this poor little guy, and it kind of works. It actually kind of works for what I need it to be. So that's all fine. This was just adjusting some compositional stuff. We had this whole discussion about Sprite Village, and I did feel like, after one of the conversations, I did feel like, okay, let's try some of the things that are being talked about. I in no way want to be the designer of Sprite Village, but I obviously have to be doing the layout, so I have to get inspired by what is being said and throw signs at the wall and see what sticks. So I made this more of a cathedral of trees kind of a thing, and just put some various elements here and there, and some stuff that we were talking about. And then this was just a quick experiment that I did just now, just before the weekly, so I haven't actually spent that much time on it, but I just wanted to see, because basically the layout has reached this point anyway, so I might as well see what it looks like when they go into kind of a burrow thing. So I had the edit, and I'm just I made a marker wherever a change happened, and now I have to go by memory because I didn't write it down actually. Oh yeah, I made an anim file for Pablo, so he could actually animate Rex in the shot. We just don't have any of the other characters. There's also an updated dialogue where it says class project and not just project. I made an anim file here for Rick, so he could work on that. Oh yeah, I just altered this pose just to kind of make it sync a little bit more with what Matthew had in mind. Oh yeah, the composition change I did. Okay, I'm going by memory here. They're cheering, and there's a lot of rejoicing and some flopping of these guys to make it more balanced. They used to be absolutely remarkable. Now they are absolutely adorable. Oh yeah, I re-recorded Phil's line just because I thought it would be very funny that when he says this line that he would be very enthusiastic, like he's been listening to what everybody else says and he's getting very pumped up about it. So everybody else is like, we could be famous, we could get on MTV, and then he's like exploding with excitement. But what he says is just like not even connected with what they're talking about. Anyway, the bloody shoe thing, that's kind of it's very early. I just put everything together, and I haven't really gotten to the point maybe where I want a lot of feedback, but it's being worked on. Compositional fixes. Oh yeah, we did this experiment at the end of the week last week where I just took a big section and I flopped it, like kind of mirrored to the x-axis. But it was done in a very hastily manner, and in order to do it more properly, I spent a little bit of time early this week making sure that individual shots are being flopped and not just a whole chunk, because then if anything changes, it's a little bit easier to work with the file. Except for this fill thing, I flopped that back. This is it's a very similar beat to what we had, where kind of Jay kind of goes back for his boombox. and it makes a little bit more sense now in the context of what's happening. We have the fun Elder Sprite kind of dancing and all of that stuff. How Ellie gets trapped up in the tree by her hair. That's now these fishing line spiders, so that's fun. And yeah, he's just kind of walking off at the end, so there's nothing special going on there. But yeah, that's my week.
But I also just want to let everyone know, as you can see, all these tweaks that are happening, like the spiders on the kind of the fishing lines coming down, everything is kind of as a test, right? We try it out, we see if it lands. I think after looking at this, Hjalti and I agree that having the spiders come down and grab Ellie's ponytail is better than having the sprites doing the holding onto their ankles and dangling. First off, because of the design of the sprites, and also I think we both agree it's going to be creepier and more entertaining to have the spiders do that. But as we're going through this and we test these out, some of them work, some of them don't. And I think what we'll do now is, for the introduction of Elder Sprite, when he's around the fire, not the introduction, but when he says sprite them around the fire, we have the other version with the Elder Sprite up in the tree saying sprite them. And I think what we're going to do is we'll look at A and B. What kind of feeling do we get with Elder Sprite saying sprite them around the fire? And then what kind of feeling do we get with Elder Sprite up in the tree saying sprite them? Because it is going to have a different tone. One may be more funny, one may be more creepy. But I think this is one of those things that we are, while going through previs, are trying to find before we continue to push through. So just keep that in mind. The sprite them for Elder Sprite moment is not completely confirmed yet. Okay, we're still exploring that moment, but everything else that was in the edit, that is all working. Okay, so just wanted to put that out there.
At the beginning of this week, I had to do some preparations because actually today I had to talk to Jeroen about the shop building process. And so I did a little experiment with the shot that Rick animated. And the experiment basically is that everything that the animator does is getting packed up in this one collection. So we don't actually have to, relink all the characters, remake the overrides, and recreate all the constraint. It's all bundled up in one collection. But then the problem is that the hair script hack that Sergey was doing, that doesn't fully work on the hair. So I had some back and forth with him and also with Simon to make that work. And now the hair is moving. Please disregard the eyes. That's just broken right now. But yeah, so at least the hair is moving and everything is linked in dynamically. So when the animation changes, also this the lighting file will get the latest animation without me having to do anything, basically. Then in preparation for the mushroom growth, I started creating the bushes that we already had. I started recreating them using geometry nodes. So all the leaves that are scattered on the bushes, they used to be particles, and now they're done using the new geometry node system, which is super powerful and really great. Then for the rest of the week, for the remaining days, I focused on the mushroom growth set. And this is how it looked like in kind of middle of the week on Wednesday. It was super messy. A lot of the stuff from the layout was still in there. And basically from that point on, I went in and I cleaned up everything and I tried to make it nice and make it all read well. The thing I took as inspiration was, of course, the concept art with the kids from Vivien, and also the mushroom growth concept art. It's kind of a split between those two because we have some really colorful brown trees here and some rather pale trees here. So I kind of just went and with what the best match was. But that's not in here. Currently, that was just me cleaning up, and then I was gathering some stuff around. And yeah, I found basically it's is already too much of a mess. So I started cleaning up everything and trying to make it read a little bit better. So I removed everything that was unnecessary, and I went into our variables file, and I created a node group that basically has all the colors that we have in the film, and then I can assign colors to all the objects based from one file, and that enables us to make a very clean color scheme for everything. So I basically evened out all the colors. I made sure that the bushes blend together really well, because we don't want anything to stand out too much, because the characters are really important. I added the characters and some different lighting effects. And this is currently where I am with it. Of course, it's not done. The trees are all placeholders, but I think this is something that we can work with, and I'm really happy with how the geometry node system is working. So it's super easy to scatter assets around, and yeah, that's it. It's very convenient, and hopefully I will continue with this next week.
Okay, early this week, Rex was updated with his new, larger, flatter eyeball geometry. So on the left is the old eyeball geometry, and on the right is the new eyeball geometry. And also the old rig helper was also updated to the new one, where the eye area was flattened just to match the flatter surface of the eyeball. The eyelids were also given a slight reshaping. There were some intersection and gaps that were just cleaned up. So this is the before, and then this is the after on the right. And then I recreated the iris shapes again on the new eyeballs. So the default iris grow, iris shrink. The shoes on the left, it appeared that there was 2 left feet. Rex had 2 left feet. So on the right is the reshaped shoe, where I just reshaped it a bit, but mainly it was the instep that was shaped in, given a little bit of a shape here. Ellie's Doc Marten boots. On the left is the sculpt. On the right is the retopo, front view, side view, back, and the 2 pieces that fit together. So it extends and locks into the sole, so they don't separate during deformation. Jacket. So this is the work in progress. At the top is the sculpt, bottom is the retopo. So working out the seams. Working out how it's going to fit underneath, hide underneath the handkerchief scarf. Today I worked a bit more on the collar, got the seams in. So just working out on the form, back view. Then tried getting the overall look with Ellie's hair. That's it for me.
So, for me, this week, there was a lot of Rex fixing, and today a lot of regenerating all of the characters with the latest version of CloudRig, and then some troubleshooting in that. But that stuff is all boring. What is more exciting is Ellie's face is ready for its initial testing. So this is still sort of a first iteration with no animator feedback yet, but she should have all the features that Rex has. So she can do all the stuff with her lips and the stuff I showed before, but she can now open her mouth. I think that wasn't done last week yet. What definitely wasn't done last week was she can blink and do the eyelid twisty thingy technologies. Same with this thing. So she can look very angry or very strange. I also slightly changed, also on Rex, the behavior of the eye ring control. So this used to, when you pull it down, it would like make a bit of a triangle shape. That was worse on Rex. So now it's more sort of a, it has a fall off. So this is controlled fully, but these are controlled only to like 90%. Same with the bottom. And then the eyebrows, those I iterated on a bit this morning. And so now they should, this doesn't have, Angela made some modifications at the animator's request to add some extra edge loops. Those are not here yet. But it does have some more tech to keep these, like, so if there's these 3 main controls and the ones in between them get controlled in a way that's like, 50-50 from each of the neighboring main controls, but also they get rotated in a way that like tries to make a nice curvature easily. So that's good. And also the pivot points for these were kind of weird before, and now they're still strange. But hopefully this is ideal or close to ideal. But yeah, this didn't have any iteration yet, so it should become even better. Ears, I think I showed before. Nothing interesting. She's probably not going to do this during the short, which is sad. She should. But I think that's about it as far as the interesting things go. She has eyes too. So yeah, that's it.
So essentially, what I started with is a little update to the blocking of the butterfly, because we started to recolor it. So I just wanted that guy to match up with all the other animals. And then I basically started sculpting the bird just so he's a bit more polished. And from that point on, trying to figure out all the things, all the big questions we need to be aware of. But this was basically the state at the mid of the week of all the animals. So here's just a little alternative shape of just, okay, the wings are kind of retracted and the beak is open. These are like the bare minimum shapes. And from that point on, I realized, okay, the wing should be a bit more simplified. And we have this sort of area here to worry about, where in the concept, this is a bit more smoothly blended in. So this was something we had to experiment with. The idea essentially is going to be, if I have a separate version, to just make a separate model of the bird where it's actually just retopologized in a way that it's actually blending in. We did an experiment with exploring other options, but that would just be a bit difficult to manage with texturing. So, and then the latest question was getting some various shapes of just like, okay, I tried to just like see how we want to deform the eyelids. So I've scaled up the eyes even more so they follow the overall curvature of the face far more accurately. And then we could basically adjust the shape of the eyelids in any way to convey some sort of emotions. And then the last issue was just with the wing height, because we realized, okay, if we want to rotate the neck of the bird, we're going to run into some issues. There's like this, for example, and this over here. And the wing is very far up. So the kind of like area where we can rotate stuff is very small, which is going to cause problems. So the idea was, how far can we move the wings actually down so that actually gives us a bit more space to rotate the head. Should still be fine. It does remove a bit of the cuteness just because he seems to be longer now overall, with the relationship between the head and the body. But it shouldn't matter too much when everything is kind of blended in and the wings are down. So this should cover pretty much all the issues, except for the wings over here. This is a little thing I need to fix. But yeah, that's basically it.
I was working in the sort that Hjalti prepared for me, and I was finishing the other sort for last week. That's how it's looking at the moment. I just have like I did like a first pass on blocking and to check how the timing and everything was going, and then I mean probably the next step I will do is like I will continue working on the other characters if they have the rigs, and then I will put all together, even if it's like a kind of like a blocking version of all of them, because this sort is like having everybody in the sort. So yeah, that's what I will do. So that was my week.
All right. So my week consisted mostly of going back to Rex shots, and with the latest Rex updates, the eyes being flatter, I revisited some of the older shots and updated the characters, and some of those animations broke, so I had to go in and redo some of the work. But that said, I think we're now at the state where we don't have to redo any animation anymore. Who knows? Fingers crossed. Let me share my screen just to give you a look on that. So I'll start with the beer burp, and I tested a couple of things here that still is open for discussion with Matthew, but where when he starts burping, I currently used grease pencil to sketch in some of the droplets that will come off his mouth, and it's a quick and easy technique to explore, like how we can add in time some additional effects to the animation. Next to that, I also had another shot, which is more of a crowd shot with all of the characters in there. Currently, the shot, we can only use Rex, but hopefully soon we can populate them with Victoria spraying the spiders, and Phil doing the barbecue, and well, lots of things going on. And so I blocked in basically Rex hitting the tent pole. As you can see, every time he hits the tent pole, this is not how you should set up a tent, at least as far as I know. The tents are still temporary, but the idea is there. And hopefully soon we can populate the scene with other characters as well. Next to that, there's the dialogue shot with the flat eyes now updated, and so this one is on the SVN server as well to pick up, and the beer burp as well. So a lot of fixing, but very happy with the stage, the rig that we have right now with Rex. So
in the beginning of the week, I still picked up some leftover tasks on shading Rex. So I addressed the Rolex watch that he's wearing, did different iterations of color variations, because there was concern that it wouldn't read well. But we decided to go with the silver version with this chain of golden elements in the middle. Videos don't show here. Okay, so a little bit of detail here. We still have to see if maybe the detail level is a little bit too high, and we want to remove some noise. But that's the state of the watch right now. Then also I added some mud to the shoes, which is using a procedural shader, so we have a bunch of parameters to play around with, also to just add the amount of mud coming up from the sole, which is going to increase throughout the movie. So we have a good parameter to just change that without having to go back in and do a lot of texture painting. Where this is accumulating is also adjustable with an additional map or whatever we need. So it's very flexible at this point. And this kind of dirt is going to be added onto the other items of clothing on Rex 2, which are conveniently white for a camping trip. And then I picked up the bird that Julien was working on this week, just for some initial shading tests, because I don't have the topology yet. I wasn't focusing on making it look exactly right and optimizing everything, but more just experimenting with different ways of shading this. And for the overall body, I made a very subtle feathery pattern that we could use to just have a subtle effect on there. And I experimented with different ways of actually including hair particles to break up the silhouette a little bit and not make it look this solid as like a solid object. So this is just without the particles at all, and then I tried different methods of actually including some feathers. This was the result that I like the most. Don't be concerned with the grooming itself. It's more about the effect at this point because it's just in the testing stage. But yeah, there are different techniques of achieving this, and I came up with something that I haven't tried before, which is not the most conventional method of doing it, but I like the result because it looks very fluffy and furry, and it's very good to blend with the overall shading of the rest. So I made more tests with this kind of method where I'm actually baking the rendered results of the underlying base mesh. So you can see here, while I'm rotating around this, there are these very noisy parts. That's the actual base mesh. But as soon as the noise goes away, it blends together better. But because of this, the fur is not actually reacting to the light in real time, but it has to be rebaked every time. So this is why this method is really inconvenient, but I tried setting up a script for this to do this automatically so we don't have to worry about it. And there are some hiccups right now, so it's not working perfectly, but hopefully we can get this running to actually use it in the shorts. And I think that's my week.
Here's the variations. So the sprite housings. These here. And yeah, this is all the options I came up with, and then I had this wonderful task of designing the effect of the melting sprites, and yeah, I showed it to the team this morning, and we were wondering how big the effect should be because these guys are tiny, so I made the bubbles a bit bigger since then. And some extra options here, and yeah, there's also the eye melting, so we're gonna talk about that soon. Yeah, and that was my week.